a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, somebody who was going to be voting for Kamala Harris came up to me and said, "Oh my God, Trump's going to win." I go, "Why is that?" He goes, "I went to the grocery store. Butter's over $3." But it actually, what everything we're hearing after the election is,
I'm just saying, the $7.
What's that?
The $7.
What's that? Butter is $7?
Yeah.
What?
Some
Is
places.
it framed in gold?
Yeah, what
Okay.
kind of butter?
Depends
Anyway.
on where you go. But
Okay, well, yeah, okay. Well,
$7.
anyway.
Joe and Mika figuring it all out together in harmony. Joe and his third wife, a semi-inflatable flotation device of a third wife, discovering the cost of butter in the grocery store together. Aren't they amazing? That's our news media. Just have the driver pick up some unsalted Irish butter on the way home. And hurry up about it. Because you know how they are. Awful people. Everybody that knows them knows that they're awful, just terrible people. Nazis, I think. Wouldn't you say Nazis, fascists? Pretty much. At least based on the internet videos of them at home. Kind of kinky riding crop. That was a weird armband, too, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Well, good Thursday to you, and welcome back. What an extraordinary country it is we have here. There are many things to be noted, I think, many things to be noted about what has transpired since Donald Trump once again won handily and thoroughly the presidency of the United States in the Electoral College and in the popular vote. Isn't that great? And we're still not quite done. It looks like Donald Trump will have more electoral votes added to his bin before all is said and done. We got a couple more states, Nevada and Arizona. And I was on a radio show talking to my friend J.D. Hayworth in Arizona on his excellent radio show night before last. It was election night, and talking to J.D. Hayworth. And it was kind of early. It was 6 p.m. hour Eastern time. And he said, "Well, how do you think it's going to go tonight?" And I said, "I think Trump will end up with 311 electoral votes." That's what I said, 311. He's not at 311 yet. But now there are projections saying that he's going to end up with 312 electoral votes, which would put me pretty close. I'd be okay with that, you know. I'm not Nostradamus or Gene Dixon or any of those other psychic things. But with that said, President Trump won, and it should be noted, talking to a friend of mine who said, "You know, I went to the dentist today, and I discovered something. Everything was normal. Everybody was at work. They were wearing their scrubs. It's a dentist's office, after all, and everybody was speaking to one another in normal tones. Everything was fine. The Democrat Party and the corrupt news media, they've tried to fan the flames of this and that and try to stir people up and make the crazy people crazier, which is what the Democrat Party has been about for quite some time now. And they're violent, and they love mob, political violence, street violence. They're crazy. And I'm kind of impressed that they haven't rioted yet. But I know that just means that they're plotting and scheming, right? And Congressman Jamie Raskin, last time anybody asked him, said that he and the other Democrats in the House of Representatives were going to somehow prevent, they're going to use the Constitution, or I think it's the 14th Amendment and Article 3 or whatever the hell it is, that they're going to declare Donald Trump to be an insurrectionist from 4 years ago, and they're going to prevent him. They're not going to certify the election. That's what Democrat Congressman Jamie Raskin said.
And they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified.
No
and
mob.
We need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices simply do not want to do their job.
Demonizing the Supreme Court, vilifying the Supreme Court like the communist, radical, extremist, baby-slaughtering lefty that he is. He's an insurrectionist. He should be declared an insurrectionist right now. and probably taken into custody, sent to one of those gulags, sent to one of those camps, prison camps, that they're all going to, all of them. I'm being entirely facetious, of course, but this is what these idiots are. They're whipping themselves up into a little kind of schoolgirl frenzied panic because their fertile imaginations have run away with them, and it's extraordinary stuff. And with that, let me get to, and today is Mailbag Day too, and I'm going to try real hard because I sometimes overtaken by events, OBE, news breaking while you're on the air, and I apologize for that. But I have right in front of me right now. The mailbag questions have been printed out on paper made from trees with ink made from oil. The Democrats want to stop logging and stop the oil industry, so there will be no paper, there will be no ink. But your daughter will be your son, and they'll be happy with that. They'll just settle for that. All right, let's get to some audio here of the crazy people because they're on the loose. They're everywhere, and they have melted down. They're organizing. Congressman Jamie Raskin probably should be an FBI pre-dawn raid on his house with a CNN camera crew across the street. While they drag him out the front door, terrorizing his wife and his dog. They should drag him out. You think he has a dog? They should drag him out in cuffs and throw him in one of the gulags. Maybe bring him down to a boxcar in the train yard first and take him away. But speaking of boxcars and train yards, Jonathan Capehart, who is with the Washington Post and what, MSDNC, right? MSDNC and the Washington Post. The Washington Post, owned by Jeff Bezos, the centibillionaire, who actually put out a nice little memo saying, hey, President Trump won the election. And he put out a memo a week and a half ago or so saying, guys, Washington Post, when they all panicked and started leaping from the rooftop at the Washington Post building because the Post didn't endorse Kamala Harris for president to prove their corrupt bias in everything. And Jeff Bezos gave him a little lecture about how nobody trusts them at the Washington Post. And when Jeff Bezos said that, one of the people he was talking about was Jonathan Capehart, who you shouldn't trust with your lunch money or your cat or your house keys or anything else. And you certainly shouldn't trust what he has to say. But he was having a mental meltdown. Is this from DNC or from the Washington Post? Because they do the streaming stuff on the Washington Post. This is the streaming Washington Post stuff on Al Gore's amazing internet. Peace be upon him. Where would we be without Al Gore, a corpulent representative of the patriarchy? Let's go to Jonathan Capehart. They've got Donald Trump won and his candidate lost. He's a fake journalist and his candidate lost. So here he is. Here is his demented, ill-informed, ignorant, low IQ opinion of what happened on Election Day.
I can't help but wonder if the American people have given up on democracy simply because of what he's told us, what he wants to do, simply because of what the Supreme Court decided in terms of immunity. I mean, he has said he wants to go after his political enemies.
Show me where he said that. And then let's talk about all the political enemies that the Biden-Harris administration have used the FBI and the corrupt judges that the left put into their positions to go after Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon and George Papadopoulos and throw them in jail, and Donald Trump, who they have pursued relentlessly with a fanaticism never before seen in American politics, using lawfare. And in fact, the current Attorney General of New York yesterday announced that she's still going after Trump because she's an extremist and a fanatic, a left-wing radical, and a racist. Let's just throw in racist because it belongs there. And she has announced that she's going after Donald Trump again. She's already gone after Donald Trump. And they abuse their power wherever they find it. Give a lefty a thimbleful of power and they'll abuse it before the sun goes down, right? And just amazing, amazing stuff. But the Democrats, they couldn't be bigger hypocrites. And again, it's the Russian playbook to accuse the other guy of doing what you're doing while you're doing it. That's the Soviet-Russian playbook. Just amazing stuff. And Jonathan Capehart, that the American people must have given up on democracy. Actually, we just had an election, and we got the results of the election the same day. That means democracy worked pretty well. You lost, you pathetic, whining loser, you schmuck with a tiny IQ. You have had all these jobs all your adult life for all the wrong reasons because of the left and identity politics. You're not clever. You're not smart. You have no insight that ought to be shared with the American people. You're a disgrace to Western civilization. Aren't you amazing? I'm telling you. So Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state of New York, announcing that she's going after Trump and it's, he's going to go after his political enemies. You're going to have to show me where you said that, because that's kind of like the good people on both sides, and I love Putin. They take what you've said, they change it until it's not what you've said, and then they attack you for what you didn't say. Standard left-wing radical protocol, and Jonathan Capehart is one of those. CNN's Van Jones, who famously self-described as a communist before being brought into the Obama administration, the Obama White House, by Anita Hill. It was Anita Hill? Anita Dunn, who famously said that Chairman Mao, history's #1 mass murderer of humanity, was her favorite political philosopher. And then they brought in self-described communist Van Jones, and then CNN hired self-described communist and race baiter Van Jones.
There are African-American women who know a little bit about being talked down to. They were hoping that
by
maybe
you?
this time, one of their own could be seen as worthy. If you're a parent of a trans kid, your child's face was used as a springboard to power for somebody.
No,
that doesn't feel good. There are going to be people tomorrow. We're going to be handing clothes at the dry cleaners to people who don't have papers.
Leave your kids alone. All right? Leave everybody's kids alone. You creeps, you sexual deviants, you sexual predators. Leave the children alone, creepy boy. All right? Your trans kid face was used. They just can't wait to paint themselves as victims of some obscure, irrational, demented, anti-scientific fantasy about little boys being girls. Why do you want little boys to be little girls? Why do you want little girls to be little boys? Do you have some demented sexual desire that you'd like to share with us, Van Jones? And listen to how solemn he sounds. Honestly, we didn't elect the dim-witted commie who never answered a question on her whole fake campaign. She never got a single vote from a Democrat anywhere in the primaries in 2024 or in 2020. And you guys are so anti-democratic. You're coming for our democracy. And we don't vote for people anymore. And then when we have an election and someone clearly wins, Donald Trump, then you don't recognize it. And Congressman Jamie Raskin says that he's going to abuse his power, and the other Democrats are going to abuse their power on Capitol Hill to prevent the winner of the election in Washington from assuming the office that we elected him to. And then you accuse us of being anti-democratic and coming after our democracy. You little cross-dressing fascists. I just throw in cross-dressing because, you got to. And then poor Van Jones. He's very sad. He's weepy-eyed. He should get tattoos of teardrops on his cheeks, like he just got let out of juvie. Of course, he got a free ride through the Ivy League. His whole life has been a free ride because of certain immutable characteristics and all of that stuff. So, and then the sad, and honestly, when I hear this pathetic stuff, I hope you go to sleep sad. I hope you wake up sad. I don't want to feel spiteful, but, maybe it'll shut you up over time, although I doubt it.
It's easy to blow this off. Oh, look at the elites. They're going to get their comeuppance. It's not the elite that's going to pay the price. It's people who woke up this morning with a dream and are going to bed with a nightmare. And those people didn't deserve to be respected and held and talked to. Those are the people who are going to pay the price for whatever Donald Trump decides to do.
Yeah, pay the price for it. What you mean, like low gas prices and low interest rates and low inflation and low grocery prices, and our shelves are full, and our border is under control, and there's no war in the Middle East and no war in Europe. Is that the price that these poor, innocent people will pay? Take your Ivy League and beep. Honestly. You know that America's strength is not just built, it's also worn. For those of us who put in the hours to get things done in America, G-Defy shoes are made right, and they're made right for you. G-Defy shoes have a patented VersaShock technology. It's beautiful. G-Defy doesn't just talk comfort. They engineer it. They make it. With every step you take, G-Defy shoes help absorb harmful shock and provide you with trampoline-like energy return under your feet. My best girl and I, we have G-Defy shoes, hike around the city. Your feet feel better when you're done hiking than they felt before you started hiking. Designed for hardworking people, for parents, for people who stand tall no matter what. All you have to do is go to gdefy.com, G-D-E-F-Y, gdefy.com, and use the code Chris. That's my first name. You're going to get $20 off any order of $100 or more. That's the code Chris for $20 off your order of $100, because even champions need to rest from time to time. Go to gdefy.com today. Yes, sir. Yeah, so they're Billy said, but nothing they say is true. The dementia. We do have a mental health crisis in America. I'll give them that. The mental health crisis is them. Okay, all right. Mailbag day and a lot of crazy left-wing people with mental issues, gender issues. Let's go to the telephones now, though. Let's go to Frank, calling from the great state of Kentucky. Frank, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, I was just listening to your reaction to Van Jones on election night, and I just wanted to make a comment about his trans reflection. Basically, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Trump ever said you can't be trans. I mean, you can agree with that or not agree with that. All he said was we're not going to have trans men compete in women's sports. He didn't say you couldn't be trans. He basically said, or Dave said, we don't think it's a good idea for children to have trans operations or treatments without the consent of their parents. So it's just another warped reaction to the campaign, to the presidency, because he's sour because things didn't actually go his way. So it's just a twist to get people wrapped up in fear again. You never said you can't be trans. Like I said, you can agree with that or not agree with that. All he said was you can't be trans and play in women's sports.
I'm nodding out loud. I am not. And you're 100% right. And it's another classic example of they take what you said, they change it till it's not what you said, and then they attack you for what you didn't say. It's a standard Democrat Party protocol. You want to dress up like your mom? That's fine. Hey, look what I have in my hand. I have the mailbag. It's mailbag. It's right here. I have the mailbag. Now, let's jump into the mailbag. Yesterday was Wednesday. Normally it's Wednesday. But yeah, it was a day after Election Day, and Trump won and Kamala lost, and the Democrats were having mental issues, and we had to get to a lot of things yesterday. And so I apologize. But today, Ginger 0307 weighs in. Not a question, but my father is a 100-year-old, 100 years young, it says, World War II Navy veteran who loves your show and listens to you every day. Ginger says, 100-year-old dad, World War II veteran, Navy vet, great American, greatest generation. No way he can miss it. Can't miss your show, says Ginger. Would be awesome if you could give him a shout-out. His name is Raymond. His name is Raymond. Raymond is out there. I got to tell you, that's great. Raymond, 100 years old, listening to the radio show out there. And, God bless you, Raymond. You probably know that my father was a Navy man in World War II himself. Killed him some Germans because, it was okay then. Now it would be frowned upon mostly. But there it is. And Raymond, a World War II Navy veteran, 100 years. And his loving daughter says, 100 years young, I assume, daughter, right, Ginger? And That is great. So, Raymond, my friend, saluting you, giving a snappy salute right now to Raymond, World War II Navy vet, listening to the show. Great American, the greatest generation. Not like those students at Georgetown yesterday that had to be given milk and cookies to comfort themselves because Trump won and Kamala lost. And they had Legos. They had Legos, right? They had Lego. And what else did they have? They had Lego. They had crayons. They had crayons because they're college students at Georgetown University. Used to be a Catholic university. Used to be a university for adults to go to. I believe that Hunter Biden went to school there because I know that's where he was going to Georgetown when he smoked crack with Marion Barry, the Democrat mayor of Washington, D.C., and he bragged about it. But I digress. And Raymond may, because Raymond is listening, my actual last name, my father was Jules Orteg. And so my name was Chris Orteg until I was 5 years old, right? And my mother remarried. And Orteg is a fun name. But my father's uncle was Raymond Orteg, just like you, Raymond Orteg. And Raymond Orteg was kind of a famous Orteg. He offered up a $25,000 prize to anyone that could fly a plane across the Atlantic Ocean. And it was won by Charles Lindbergh. It was called the Orteg Prize. That was my great uncle. And his name was Raymond, kind of a famous Raymond in our family. So I put that out there for Raymond. And Ginger, thank you. I was very happy to salute your father, Raymond. Wonderful. Eric Warga asks, next question, what surprises do you see happening before January 20th? JRB pardons DJT. That's Joseph Robinette Biden pardons Donald John Trump. Sotomayor resignation. That's fun. Sonia Sotomayor, who is going to play Jake LaMotta in the upcoming Raging Bull Part 2. She looks just like Jake LaMotta the later years now. So Sonia Sotomayor, she's maybe going Hollywood like so many of those. You know, the Hollywood people, they're very upset about the election. They're not well. JRB resignation. See, now that's kind of crazy. We were talking about this morning, Michael and I were. What surprises do you see happening before January 20th? I don't know, because they're surprises, you know. But I expect that the Democrats will lose their stinking minds. You're going to have, Jamie Raskin, Democrat members of Congress talking. They're going to be plotting against President Trump, trying to prevent him in their anti-democratic, undemocratic, fascist, Nazi, communist kind of way, trying to prevent Donald Trump from assuming the office of president. I would also say that Donald Trump continues to be in grave danger because the left is fanatical, they're extreme, and they're violent. He was already grazed by one rifle bullet, a second would-be sniper in the fence line, the hedgerow at his golf course in West Palm Beach. We had the Iranians sent a Pakistani fanatic to the United States to assassinate Trump. So the Trump detail has got to be more on their toes now than ever before, and they've always had to be very much on their toes. Will Joseph Robinette Biden pardon Donald Trump? It would be a wise thing to do. In fact, there is news on that today because a whole bunch of legal stuff, the lawfare, is falling apart on the Democrats. And Jack Smith, the political prosecutor, has announced that he's dropping his pursuit of Donald Trump in the courts because the Justice Department cannot prosecute a president of the United States. It's Justice Department rules. Now, will Joseph Robinette Biden pardon Donald Trump? It would be a prudent thing to do. It would be a wise thing to do. We know that the prosecutions have been extremely political based on their radical politics and not on enforcing the law legitimately, of course. So I'm not sure he needs to pardon President Trump, but I think it would be a good olive branch from the radical left that has used the Justice Department, the FBI, the intelligence community against their political enemies like the third world leftists that they are. And it would be nice if we brought an end to that. Now, will Biden do it? I don't think he's got that much. I don't like to use the word in this context, but I don't think he's got that much class. I really don't. I think he's too low rent for that. But it would be a wise and prudent politically and for our culture, for our country, for our civilization, knowing that it's a lot of BS about a non-disclosure agreement and, a false claim by a woman that she can't even tell you what year something allegedly happened. The classified documents, drop that because that's a lot of hooey. The corrupt FBI, some FBI people should go to prison for various things that have been perpetrated by the FBI in the last few years. Staging of the photographs at Mar-a-Lago with the magazine rack there. They brought their own classified document cover sheets and put them on there, then photographed it in a staged photo, literally, I'm not embellishing, and then leaked it, released it to corrupt left-wing anti-Trump media that were in bed with the Democrat Party. So President Trump has been persecuted, not prosecuted, and it would be good to bring that regime to an end, that regimen to an end, I'm telling you. So there's that. And will Sonia Sotomayor resign? Honestly, Eric, I think it's too late. I think it's too late for her to resign from the Supreme Court because the Democrats, they still control the Senate for the moment, but they can't replace a Supreme Court justice and this rule was established under the Harry Reid and Turtle Boy Mitch McConnell regime that you can't, certainly after the presidential election, a corrupt Democrat Senate run by corrupt lizard man Chuck Schumer could not replace the Supreme Court justice. So I think it's too late. But it would be fun as she heads off to Hollywood to play an aging Jake LaMotta. Poor Sonia Sotomayor. And then I love this from Eric also, a JRB resignation, Joseph Robinette Biden resignation. That would be kind of funny. We were talking about that, Michael and I were. He could resign, and then Kamala Harris would become the president of the United States. That could happen. It's not out of the question. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be kind of amusing and entertaining, and we could learn all kinds of things about the Constitution. But then Kamala would become the president of the United States. Joseph Robinette Biden probably should have done this when they kicked him to the curb, but he's so bitter that, he didn't even vote for Kamala on Election Day, I'm thinking. He might have voted for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., for, the Green Party, Jill Stein. He might have voted for somebody else. He probably didn't vote for Trump. But I'm thinking he probably didn't vote for Kamala either, the way the party has treated him. That'd be good to spite him. Now, JRB resignation, but here's the thing we talked about, Eric. So Joe Biden resigns. He's coming out shortly to speak in the Rose Garden at the White House at 11 a.m. Eastern. But then Kamala becomes president of the United States. Then on January 20th, Donald Trump is inaugurated, and he becomes not the 47th president of the United States, but the 48th president of the United States, because Kamala would become the 47th president of the United States, and then those hats and shirts would become collector's items, right? Wouldn't that be wild? That's pretty crazy. So from Eric Warga, that's great. Surprises before January 20th. I do expect the Democrats to form violent mobs, maybe for Inauguration Day. We're going to have to call out the military because the Democrat Party and their history of mob violence. But we'll keep our ear to the ground on that, Eric. Homer asks, will you miss cringe? Will you miss cringe? Well, she's kind of a cute little Raggedy Ann, and she says a lot of dumb things, which is fun for me. It's fun for us. Will I miss her? And will she go away? Or will she get a TV show at MSDNC? They gave, good old, what's her name, Colonel Klebb. Yeah, Jen Psaki, who we like to think of as Colonel Klebb in the James Bond movie From Russia with Love. And they have some characteristics in common. And the spike in the shoe might only be one of them. Will I miss cringe? I don't know if she'll go away, but yeah, I think I probably will, because she's kind of a perky, cutesy, Raggedy Ann doll at the podium. who never takes questions from, people that have hard-charging, probing questions. She takes an occasional question from Ducey at Fox News, and that's it. She won't take questions from James Rosen, White House correspondent at Newsmax TV, great news reporter, author, scholar of Richard Nixon and the Beatles. She won't take questions from him. I'll be glad that she's gone. I'm going to sing the Sammy Davis song now. I'll be glad when she's, the song is, I'll be glad when she's dead and gone. I don't want her dead and gone. Now, I really, truthfully, Homer, I'm not going to miss her. She'll still be around somewhere to make fun of, I bet, though. And Scott says, do you think now the government is all red? Now the government is all red. Will the Democrats still push to abolish the filibuster? They have this radical agenda to undo America. They want to pack the Supreme Court. They want to undo the filibuster. They want to add Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. as states so they can get 4 permanent left-wing radical senators, right? They want to destroy everything. They're the left. They're like an invading army from China or the Soviet Union. They want to wreck our traditions and customs. Look what they've done to education and to gender and to children and everything else. Do you think now that the government is all red, and we still haven't settled on the House of Representatives yet, but I'm expecting that it will remain in Republican hands. And then we'll have Trump in the White House and who knows who as the Senate Majority Leader taking Schumer's job away from him and control of the House. It's all red. Will the Democrats still push to abolish the filibuster? They'll give it lip service, but they won't have the power or the authority to undo American customs, traditions, and constitutional norms. I say they should get what they want for a 2-year test cycle and see how it works, the Democrats. Well, I don't think the Democrats should get anything they want now because everything they want is radical and extremist and un-American and anti-American and mostly crazy fringe stuff. This is great. Kevin Kneffel. I'm reminded of Evel Knievel and Awful Knaufel. But Kevin, it's Kneffel. It's going to be Kneffel, but with a K. Chris, now that Mitch McConnell is going to step down from Senate leadership, do you think that President Trump should put his finger on the scale for his replacement to prevent another rhino from getting in? Yes, I do. Yeah, the president should absolutely, the incoming Republican president should absolutely have a role in that. And who would you like to see in the job? I would love to see Ted Cruz. I would love to see Ted Cruz, too. I think Ted Cruz is a profoundly intelligent, brilliant legal scholar. Even Alan Dershowitz, lifetime Democrat, Harvard law professor emeritus, has spoken more highly of Ted Cruz as a student, as an intellect. He went to Harvard Law School while Dershowitz was there. And Dershowitz was asked, well, Barack Obama went to Harvard Law School, too, while you were there. And he said, yes, he did. And that was about it. But Ted Cruz, brilliant. I got to say, I like Tom Cotton, too. Interestingly, also Harvard Law School, and then off as a combat infantryman in the United States Army to war. He would be a good one. It's good. And Mitch McConnell, thank you for your service. And, he got the Supreme Court to where it is today, made sure that our awful Attorney General did not ascend to the Supreme Court, Merrick Garland. Mitch McConnell had many accomplishments. I'm glad that he believes it's time for him to move on. I do, too. And Ted Cruz would be great because he's a brawler. He's a fighter. Nobody can outsmart him. The Constitution is second nature to him. Ted Cruz would be wonderful. Tom Cotton, no slouch himself. And he's saying that he may not, well, we'll see. We'll see as that goes forward. But it's really good that this is the discussion that we're having 2 days after Election Day in Republican voting circles and conservative circles. Ted Cruz would be a powerhouse. And yes, Donald Trump should play a role in this process. Absolutely. You betcha. And that's our mailbag. Thank you very kindly. Football season is underway and heating up all over the place, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action while you're watching NFL football and college football, too, with over 10 million members. and $1 billion in awarded, honestly, $1 billion, billions and billions of dollars in awarded winnings through Prize Picks. Prize Picks has made the daily fantasy sports accessible to all of us, making it easy. The app is very simple to use. And then you pick 2 or more players across any sport. You pick more or less based on their projections. You could win up to 100 times your money. Prize Picks even invented the Flex Play. Only Prize Picks has Flex Play, so you can still cash out if one of your picks doesn't hit. That is amazing. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code PLANTE, P-L-A-N-T-E. You're going to get a $50 credit instantly when you play only $5. That's the code PLANTE on Prize Picks to get $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states where it is lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for details and restrictions. Yes, sir. Mailbag. I feel good about the mailbag. That was a good mailbag. Wonderful. All right, we got crazy Democrats coming up and your calls. So now CNN and MSDNC are both talking about the war in Ukraine ending. And they're attacking Donald Trump to talk about it. That's what they're doing. They're saying, well, Trump will end support for Ukraine. And then who knows, but it's not what he said. Once again, they take what he said, they change it until it's not what he said, then they attack him for what he didn't say. And they had, CNN today had the former NATO commander, Admiral Stavridis, on saying, well, the 50 European representatives are getting together, and they're talking about the war in Ukraine, and they're afraid. They're afraid of Trump. Why? Because he made NATO countries pay more of their fair share? I've got a lot of crazy coming up.